And so as we do welcome our dear friend and Coptic minister, Carl Franklin, holds a master's degree in theology and psychology, and he has been a spiritual metaphysical researcher for over 50 years. During that time, he has gained insight in both the inner and outer world of self and the planet by utilizing meditation, channeling, along with the study of astrophysics, quantum physics, the Urantia book, and the Bible. He's authored the book Earth's Ascension, Nibiru, and the Spirit Realm, and is an international speaker and an intuitive life script reader. Tonight, we do welcome Carl as his presentation of Our Heavenly Home. And
Thank you, Claudia, and thank you for sharing the thoughts of Hamid Bey. I think that Hamid Bey is correct in that our thoughts and our emotions play a major role in creating heaven here on earth. And I agree when he says heaven is not a place, because if you are not physical, you don't need a place. Places are, if they exist, they're fairly much irrelevant. It was interesting the way spirit works. Today in my reading, I read an interesting channeling that I would highly recommend to you. And if you have paper and pencil, you might want to take this down so you can read it in detail. I know I had to read it at least twice to gain what I hope is the full meaning out of it. And where it can be read is on the Sananda website. And it is the November 12th message from Archangel Michael. And Archangel Michael wasn't talking about heaven. He was talking about the process that we go through leaving this physical body and entering the spirit world to be in heaven on a semi-permanent basis. And I say semi-permanent because heaven is a real home, but right now we're not home. We're on the planet. So we will be in heaven for, on average, about twice as long as we are here in the physical earth, from what I've been told. Michael said that there are many people now exiting the physical earth, and this certainly fits in with our personal experience. And it's not just because of the COVID virus. The death rate has accentuated, according to Michael, because there are souls who have chosen to move forward the date of the physical death, because in this particular period of time, there is an opportunity to, using the death process, to speed up in their personal lives the ascension process. And he said that people who are, and I'm going to say people like us, people who are light workers, the last 3 or 4 days before they die, and in some cases it will simply be the last 3 or 4 hours, they are so open to learn, they are so open to experience things that their ego would not allow them to accept or experience or consider earlier. But as death approaches, they are open and they have cleared out blockages. And that's one of the things that happens in this process. Blockages are cleared so that information and energy and wisdom and love can come to them that they were not able to receive earlier. And it's not only that is happening. I'm trying to remember, there were 5 specific points. The openness was one of them. And anyway, I would highly recommend that you read, again, Sananda website, Archangel Michael, a November 12th message. It's highly significant. Okay, now heaven itself, the only way that I think we in our physical bodies are able to think about it is as if it were a place, because that's what we're accustomed to. That's how our mind has been trained in this physical world. And there's been a tremendous amount of scientific research in the death and dying process anyway. And I've had the joy, the privilege of having an out-of-body experience and standing outside of the tunnel of light. The people who have had what's called a near-death experience, that's where they end up, standing in front of the tunnel of light. And they intuitively know that if they go into that tunnel, that lifetime is over. And they realize that they have a choice. They can choose to go in and that lifetime is over, or they can choose to go back into their physical bodies because this is not their final exit point. And what they find themselves doing as they're contemplating their decision, they find their mind going back to their family. Am I ready to leave them? Are they ready to let me go? And all of the things that they wanted to accomplish and experience and see and do, their bucket list, if you will, are they ready to abandon that? And because their focus is back in the physical world, in their physical lifetime, they do not go into the tunnel and they find themselves back in their physical body. Okay, and for them, there's been absolutely no loss of consciousness whatsoever. And the one thing that is common to all that have experienced this is all fear of death is gone. They're looking forward to it. They're not afraid of it. All right. So one of the insights that came to me in my meditation this week is, well, let me back up here. This has been building for some time, but the climax was this week. The climax was this. The level of heaven has been increased. The heaven as it exists today is not the same heaven that it was 10, 15, 20, 50 years ago. What has happened is, as the consciousness of humanity in the earth has increased, the consciousness of beings in heaven have also increased. And the lowest part of heaven, in fact, I think it's about the lowest 1/3 of heaven, has been removed from the earth plane. And it's been placed with another planet that's a third dimensional planet that is not ascending at this time. And because more and more people that were dying were of a higher consciousness, the ceiling, if you will, of heaven has been raised. So the range of frequencies in heaven has increased. The floor has been raised, the ceiling has been raised. And what I was told just this week is that if you go into the highest level of heaven, that what happens is you don't have to stay there. You have the opportunity of leaving the heavenly plane that you have entered and exploring higher dimensions of space, higher dimensions of creation. Depending upon your level of consciousness, you can visit, for example, other 5-dimensional planets and people and species. You can visit 6th-dimensional and maybe even 7th-dimensional. And the reason for this is, if you plan to come back to Earth, and because of what you have learned in the death process, you do not have to come back. If you choose to come back, you now have the wisdom and knowledge of these higher dimensions to share with the future Earth in helping it to go even higher in consciousness and with more love and peace and joy, creating, if you will, more heaven on earth. So I was not aware that we had that kind of an opportunity. Now, heaven itself, Jesus said, in my Father's house are many mansions. Now, that really doesn't make sense. It was a bad translation. What I think the meaning is, in my Father's house are many rooms, many levels. And in my experience, when a person dies, after they go into the tunnel of light, they are merged with an aspect of their soul that contains the memory that we didn't bring in with us. That's all stored within this aspect of our soul, and we merge with it in the tunnel of light. And when we merge, it's like I see it as a flash of light, and the light shoots up, and then we go into heaven in a much more complete way than we are now, because we now have our memory as well as everything that we have learned here. And we're no longer burdened by physical bodies that, as they age and as they are ill and endure accidents, so limit us. We are now free of all physical kinds of limitations. And as we shoot up into the heavenly realm, the first place we go, I call it the Welcome Center. And we're in a room, and that room is filled with people that we know, that we have been close to in past lives and in this lifetime that have predeceased us. And there is so much love, there's so much backslapping, there's so much laughter and joy and reminiscing and hugging. It's beyond anything that I've ever experienced here in Earth. It's absolutely phenomenal. And when that ends, a couple hold back and they say, come on with us and we'll take you to your home. And we have a home waiting for us in heaven. And the location of that home is that part of heaven in which we're going to be most comfortable. And which means it's at the level of heaven of our consciousness. Everyone that's going to be our neighbors there are at our level of consciousness. And the reason for that is it's easier to see things in other people than to see them in ourselves. And we're going to see so much in those people that we so admire and respect and love. And we're going to realize, oh my God, I've got that too. But they will see things occasionally, well, that doesn't feel, I don't like that. I wish they weren't like that. And then we'll realize, oh my God, that's me too. And that's when we start planning our next life to make the corrections, the improvements that we want to make. And that's why we're with those people. So one of the things we do in this heavenly realm is we spend a fair amount of time reviewing our life here. And we review it in some detail and draw out all of the learnings that we may have missed while we were in our physical body. And so it's an education, this life review. It's for our benefit. And we also, there are, I don't know how many different vocations on the heavenly realm, but I expect as many as there are on the physical earth. And we choose what we want to do. We certainly are still going to be overlighting and communicating with, or at least attempting to communicate with our loved ones that are here. They have to be open to being communicated with. But if they are, and always we're tuned in, if ever they want help from us and they ask, we'll drop whatever we're doing and be with them immediately. And know that that's true now, that all you have to do is ask your loved ones on the other side. And one of the requirements, and as far as I know, this is throughout the universe, you have to ask in order to receive. There's a law of non-interference. If they just step in and do something or reveal something that you didn't ask for, they're interfering. So ask for whatever it is you want from your loved ones, and know that you will be asked by them too. And you can communicate with them almost as good as you can communicate now, except it's not by the spoken word, but it's thought to thought. It's heart to heart. All right. And so the relationships with our loved ones are not severed at all. It's simply the way we relate is differently. It's on a mental and emotional level rather than a physical level. All right. So heaven is we can grow there, but because it's not as challenging as here, growth is slower. And we come down here in physical earth in this dense physical environment because the challenges are more intense and greater. We come here to learn, and earth is referred to as a school, and indeed it is. But heaven is also a school, but it's not as intense, it's more relaxed. And you can achieve, I'm going to say, higher levels there because of the lack of the limitations imposed by everything coming in through the five senses. There, they can come in through multiple senses. I'm looking forward to being in heaven. I'm looking forward to continuing to work with the earth, with my loved ones, with humanity. I'm interested in helping the earth and humanity continue on their ascension path and contributing what I can contribute from that level. And I know that in some ways I'll be able to be more helpful than I can be by being in this physical body. And I know you will be able, but the same will be true for you if that's what you choose to focus on. So you're still very much yourself. You are, your mind, your emotions, your spirituality are the same. The only part of us that dies is our physical body. The other parts of us, our mind, our emotions, and our soul are eternal. And the death process does not affect them at all, except that they're no longer confined and restricted to a physical body. They're working in a much more free and open and unrestricted way. So for me, that's what heaven is. That's what we can look forward to. And like here, we in large measure create our own reality here and in heaven. So you're obviously going to create what is more heavenly in the heaven realm, but you can do the same thing here. One of the important lessons that I hope you'll take from this little talk is that you are the creator of the person you are right now. And that is the person you can not avoid living with. You cannot avoid being with yourself. Everything else you can leave or ignore, but not yourself. So the person you are today, if there are changes that you would like to make, this is the best time to do it. Because the changes you make are going to go with you into the heavenly realm too. And if you have blockages, if you have other things about yourself that you want to change, do it now. Work on it. Ask for the help you need to do that, because then you get to enjoy it now and in the hereafter. So my blessings to you. It's been a wonderful journey here, and the journey ahead is I think is going to only get better. My love, my blessings to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. I think I've heard you say before that being in the physical body, as you did say tonight, is you learn more because it's such a dense, third-dimensional part of life that we're in and creation. With technology changing and God willing, a physical body that's more fifth-dimensional and healthier, it seems like we would learn more by staying in the physical if we could finally obtain that fountain of youth, if you will. So what is your thoughts on that, that's coming into a reality for the earth as we go through the ascension process?
Well, I think that we can learn lessons at a lower level here because of the vibration of the earth and the consciousness of the earth and the people on it. But we can learn different lessons on the heavenly realm. On the heavenly realm, there are higher lessons that can more easily be learned that are beyond the scope of what we can learn here.
So you don't think that with the technologies and everything, since really the planet, the energy vibration of the planet is already higher, right? It's actually moving a little bit ahead of us than where we are at in consciousness. So it seems that there might be things that, you can now learn that you didn't learn before, or maybe learn them quicker.
That's true. That's absolutely true. But consider the fact that in the tunnel, you are reconnected with the memory of your soul. And your soul has had infinitely wider, broader experiences than we have had just in this physical body. So I think there are different lessons and higher dimensional lessons that we can learn in the heavenly realm. And one of the sad parts of the way we are here on the planet, yes, technology is evolving at an unprecedented rate of speed, but it's coming out of our limited conscious mind, which is only 12 to 15% of our mind. Whereas in the heavenly realm, we're going to be working out of 100% of our mind and this additional memory, and with all of the wisdom and knowledge that it has. So if you can imagine what our potential is just here in physical, if we were to be working out of 100% of our mind instead of the 12 to 15%, how far along would we be in science and technology and healing and in spirituality? Because one of the functions of the subconscious, it's that part of us that communicates with the spirit realm, with our own soul. Okay.
But don't you think, Carl, that more and more people are already starting to do that here
Yes.
on the planet?
Yes, that's why the consciousness of the earth and humanity is raising, because more and more people are doing that. And you're one of those people.
Carol, I'm interested in what you think or what you've heard when we shed our physical body. How are we recognized when we get to heaven? And how do we recognize our loved ones waiting for us if there's not a physical body? Is there like is my vibration in my soul going to recognize the vibration in my mother?
I think we have a spirit body, Nancy, that we can see with our spirit eyes.
It'll take on the physical of our most present or our most recent life.
You will look when you enter into heaven, and incidentally, when you enter into heaven, that's considered your birth date. Okay. All right. Well, anyway, you'll look just like you look when you died. But as time goes on, you will grow younger in appearance until you're at roughly in the mid-30s at the prime of your physical. And you will look similar to what you looked like when you were at that age here. So yes, there will be physical recognition. Plus, as you said, you'll recognize the energy, the emotions, the thoughts, etc. of them as they'll recognize them with you.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Carl, when we die, when we go into the afterlife, are we like going into the fourth dimension first? Or
okay, heaven it's been reported that without our physical body, yes, we're fourth dimensional. And I believe there's been some adjustment there. The astral plane, which is the state in between heaven and the physical earth, is functioning in the third and fourth dimensions. The heavenly plane, I believe, with the lower part having been removed, is functioning at the high end of the fourth dimension, in the fifth dimension, and even touching into the sixth dimension.
thank you.
Welcome.
What about the people that lived hundreds and thousands of years? How do they still have to come to Earth to learn? Are they totally advanced? What's the difference with people that already had so much experience?
Well, that's probably us. Okay. Many of us have been on the earth for dozens or hundreds of lifetimes. Okay. And we're recycled, if you will. As I said, we on average spend twice as much time in the heavenly plane as we do in the physical plane. And when we've accomplished what we came here to accomplish in terms of learning and the service that we were given, then there's no reason for us to stay here. We've completed the purpose that we came. We go back into the heavenly plane. We review that, we learn from it, and we then plan our next lifetime. All right.
To a higher dimension place? I mean, if I've had 1,000 years here, then I would be going someplace
Well,
different.
you can not only ascend, you can also descend because
Okay.
of the duality. So it's up to each person who they have created themselves to be, each lifetime here and each lifetime in heaven, as to where they are.
And not everyone has had the earthly process. I mean, this experience with the earth, that was something that we volunteered for, right, Carl?
Yes, exactly.
So not
Yeah.
everyone has taken that same route as we have here. You know, that all of us here, we've all chosen to come and assist the planet. And some of us earlier than others, right, Carl?
Yes.
So, but others, that doesn't mean they haven't grown and become on the higher levels of
Yes.
consciousness up in the heavenly realms.
So can you describe, it's like, it seems like the death process could be very beautiful, and for
Yes.
some probably is. Many people struggle with it. They try to stay here when it's, you know, I just wonder about that, you know, hanging on so hard to this life.
Okay, it's my personal opinion that many of those people are living out of fear, the fear of the unknown, the fear of what might happen if they did let go. And those that have experienced the death process and then come back have lost that fear. And some people die hard and slow, and some people die quick and easy. It can be slow and easy too. It depends on how you're reacting emotionally to it. So my suggestion is fear is the opposite of love. And if you have love for yourself, and if you have trust in yourself, and you have trust in your soul, trust that it's going to do what is in your highest good if you let go and let it happen. Okay?
Carl, everything that you have said, I have experienced. I had a near-death experience out of body. And when I popped through to the other side, I turned and looked over my left shoulder, and I said, I've done the best I can. If this is my time, it's okay. And I won't go into all the details, but the three people that I was with when they passed over for good were waiting on me. And I was in a boat with no paddle, and I could feel the current of the green lake. And I reached a point, it was during my first breast cancer surgery. And I reached a point, and there was a veil. It wasn't a veil in a sense of material veil. It was a dividing, shimmering line. And all I had to do was make a decision to go through. And my father, there was a tunnel. It was like the horns out of Switzerland. You know, it came down and then it curved up. My mother was on her way. She was 15 minutes late everywhere she was on earth, and she was 15 minutes late in the other side too. I mean, it's just her essence. And then there was a dear friend that I was with. And I reached a point, and I was so close to accepting that I needed or wanted or was choosing to go through that shimmering energy field. And about that time, I think I must have been given a shot to counteract what I was experiencing. You know, I know there's a biochemical, physical medical, if they gave me an opiate, a pain medication, I went into probably a respiratory depression, but I was gone on the other side and I was very close. And I turned around and as I was looking at my father, I looked up and this amazing, there are no words to describe what I saw and felt. Every word that I choose to say to somebody is inadequate. And it changed me because it was consciousness without physical form.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yeah.
I was still me, the essence of me. But it wasn't my time to go.
Yeah.
And that the thing I learned was that it is my decision.
Yes.
And my little family back here was not ready to let me go.
Yes.
And I was pulled back. And there were some other experiences. I won't go into that, but everything that you said, I resonated so well with, and I find myself different. I don't remember having an emotional side. It was like my ego was gone.
Yes.
And I said I was egoless. And the experience was egolessness. And those, you try to get all those words out at one time,
You were pure spirit.
I was what?
Pure
Pure.
spirit.
Yes, absolutely pure. And I found that the essence of me, I really liked.
Yes.
And so that the other thing, one of the messages my father said is you got to start standing up for yourself.
Yep.
And I have done that ever since, and it has ticked a few people off.
Wonderful. Okay, I have a story for you too. This was about 5 years ago. I was in meditation and I found myself standing at the entrance to the gate. And people were rushing by me going in and they would get in. Some would right after they entered and others had to go quite a ways. And there was suddenly a flash of light and the light shot up. And in my life, I have never, ever experienced anything, as you said, it can't be put into words. The emotions were the strongest I've ever felt, just the overwhelmed with the unconditional love. And the peace, it truly, the peace that passes understanding.
Yeah.
And the strongest feeling of all that was completely unexpected was just experiencing that I was within the entire universe and the entire universe existed within me. It was all one.
Yeah.
And the feeling was so strong. I moved forward. I wanted to go in there, but there's an angel that appears in front of me, hand up, no, not your time. You have work yet to do. There's Ortran and zap, I'm back into my physical body.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's instant. It was instant.
It is. It is. Now, Ortran, you have a story regarding your brother, do you not? The glass door?
Oh, well, I was just lost my brother. He was 94, but he was like my father to me. But my niece was, she was actually the one that was having the dream, and she was with him. And he said to her, he says, look, there's the door. And so, of course, as she was relaying this, of course, what came up in my mind was first a hard door, it's just a solid door. And he said to her, no, he said, look over there. It's over there. The door's over there. And she looked over that way, and it was a sliding glass door. So, there was that, it was like you said, it was like a shimmering. There was that separation, the veil, but it was a sliding glass door, and it opened, and his wife walked through it. So he finally found the door to walk through, to the other side. And of course, my niece was just totally thrilled because she also got to meet her mom too at that point in time. So it was really very touching.
Mm.
Anything else here? Thank you, dear.
Carl, if I could, and the group, if I could share an incredible experience I had in terms of being communicated with by a dear friend who had passed away. For about a year and a half after this person had passed, she died suddenly of an aneurysm. And she had told me numerous times that she didn't see herself living past her mid-40s, and she died at 42. There was an experience where I was walking near where we lived. There was a cemetery that we would often walk. And as I was walking the cemetery, it had snowed the night before. And all of a sudden, on top of the snow was this white envelope with the word spirits and 3 question marks. I opened the envelope and it had like an old colonial scene of a bunch of people just gathering. And that was early December, I believe. In the spring of that next year, the same spot, all of a sudden I stopped. There's a long stick, kind of like what they use when they mark roads and stuff. And it had a big red bow tied to it. And on each side of the bow, one side said the word spirits, and the other side had the 3 question marks. And both that card and that bow were in the exact same spot, 4 months apart or whatever. And it was another powerful experiences in terms of how I was communicated with by this person that had passed on. So it does happen big time. So
Death does not end a relationship. It simply changes the way we communicate with each other.
yeah. And a lot of times I tell people who are grieving exactly that. You have to learn to change the relationship with the relationship, because the relationship doesn't end. It just transforms into a different type of relationship, but it's still there nonetheless.
What was your take on the 3 question marks?
What came to me was the importance of the Trinity, and that there's 3 important questions to ask. What is the higher dimension of love? What is the higher meaning of your life? And what are your hopes and dreams? That's, to me, what those 3, for me, that's what those question marks represented.
Yes.
I have, my mom visits now and again. And last year, my stepfather, my mother's been gone since 2001. My stepfather had COVID, was in the hospital for 3 weeks, and then they sent him home with hospice. And I was working in the kitchen. I don't know what I was doing. I know I had a towel in my hand, but all of a sudden it's not like I heard the voice or anything like that. I just got this message, go sit down, we have work to do. And I sat in my chair and I felt my mother's hand brush the back of my head. And then we were gone. And we were at his bedside. And I saw my mom and several of his siblings and different people who have gone on. And they had been trying to communicate with him, and they weren't getting through.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what, there are times that they need someone who's actually, although I wasn't physically there, I was physically rooted on the earth. That's what I got out of this.
Yes.
They needed my presence there to get through to him, and he died 2 days later.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else here?
Well, I just want to mention how I feel, and I saw it actually, with my brother, even though I felt this is that the closer that you get to your dying process, the more and more, you're traveling between. You move up into the astral realm for a while, then you come back to the earthly realm, and you're going back and forth. And so, that's why people, sometimes people think, well, they're hallucinating or whatever, but they're really traveling, and they're starting to integrate because they're not quite ready just to move right up into that next level. So they're starting to integrate. And just like I mentioned with my brother with the hard door at first, but no, then he finally saw it was, the sliding glass door, and it was easy to open, right? But during this time I knew he was getting close, and really didn't know what was holding him back. There were a couple little things, because he wanted to make sure everyone was okay. But when I went there, before I actually got to Minneapolis, and I had been communicating with him in my meditations. So, but my niece said to me, she said, her dad said, Orchard was here today, that he actually saw me in his room before I ever got there. And I know a lot of it's because I was communicating with him and so on. And she says, well, Dad, that was a dream. That's what she said. But he was doing the same thing with his heavenly family. As he and I were communicating, he was also doing that with his heavenly family, just to prepare for that transition. And I knew I had to be there. It was wonderful because he wasn't even opening his eyes. And by the third day, he was also a beautiful, wonderful musician, and he'd broken his wrist and all these things all the while I was in the hospital. And he finally ended up playing the keyboard some, and we played some of the German song that we always sang together, and this Hungarian love song that was my mother's favorite love song. And then we're just playing some Hungarian music, and he's sitting in his chair because he had to have everything done for him. And he starts dancing in his chair with this big grin on his face. When I got there, he was like this. So it was really wonderful to be able to get in and have that with him, during those last days, But then the one thing he kept saying was, I want Lee and Linda here. I want them to come. I want to see them. And that was my niece's son and his wife. And they got there. And of course, he had his eyes closed the whole time, basically since I was gone. And this was only within a week. And that she took a picture of them together, and he's looking at them. He opened his eyes, never said a word, and he held their hands. And I could see he was projecting to them, take care of your mom. I could see it clearly that's why he needed to have them there physically, so he could say that, to them, communicate that with them. And then they left and he passed away. So, they have an agenda. I mean, and when they're finished, even that last week, he said, the time has come close, so he knew he didn't have too many more days around here. And so I feel really, grateful that I had the opportunity. I know I needed to be there with him for that short period of time, but, it all helps when we know those things, and we help them transition through those different phases. And even like Michael Joy, like you were helping them, even though they weren't on a physical plane anymore, they still need, the one individual was, but, even others. And we help people move on if they have already passed on, because they haven't quite been able to get there. And those are the ones that have that harder death process, because they feel there's unfinished business on this earth plane for them. So, yeah. So anyhow, it's I don't know. I wasn't afraid of death from the time I saw my mother pass away, because when I experienced her having her final breath, and this tremendous peace came over me when that occurred. And I walked out to tell the nurse that she was gone, and I was just like this in this whole altered state, really, myself. And they wondered, she said, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I am totally at peace. And that's really when it occurs, that's the way it is. And it will be that way, I think for all of us. And that's how it's supposed to be. That's the natural way that it's meant to be.
Well, I want to thank everybody for sharing their
Thank
experiences.
you, yes.
And
Mhm.
it's been wonderful being with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl.
Thank you.
Yeah, Michael, if you'll indulge me, I'd like to close with a little meditation.
Please do.
Okay. Please make yourself comfortable and take several deep, slow breaths, relaxing your body, quieting your mind. Sense the angels around you. They're your angels. They've been with you for many lifetimes. And now sense your heart and your mind joining together as one, becoming a heart mind. And now picture your heart mind merging with your soul, which is the divine presence within you. You are now one, you are now whole. You are in a physical body, but you are also on a spiritual plane. The eternal parts of you, your heart, your mind, your soul, are one, and you are surrounded by your angels. Give thanks for all of the blessings you have been given in this lifetime. Give thanks for all of the people that have been in this lifetime, whether they're still here in the physical realm or beyond. Express your gratitude to them for all that they have given you, for all that you have learned from them. And now feel the pressure on the bottom of your feet, and through it, your connection with Mother Earth. Send your love to Mother Earth. And allow the love of Mother Earth to come up through your feet, your legs, and fill your heart and mind and soul. You are spanning, you are a bridge between the physical realm and the spirit realm in this state. And now let your mind roam into the heavenly realm. Embrace, send love, kiss all there that you love. Open yourself up as you hug them to receive their love. You are more than your body. You are more than your heart and mind. You are more than your soul. You are an aspect of the Creator, experiencing and expressing all that you have ever experienced. You and the Creator are one. You are overlighted, you are blessed, you are guided. You are the vessel, the vehicle through whom the Creator is experiencing and expressing itself. And this is truly who you are and why you're here. So the Creator can experience and express all that you are, think, feel, say, and do. You are the universe. The universe is you. And so it is. And so you are. And as you're ready, you may return your full consciousness to your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual body. So it is. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you. Thank you, Carl.
Thank you, Carl.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being here, for sharing.
Thank you, everyone, for sharing.
It was a beautiful evening.
Yes, it was. It was wonderful being with such wonderful souls, and
Yes.
I could feel the love and light radiating from each and every one of you.